Now, Diddy's name has become synonymous with scandal. The hip-hop mogul, entrepreneur, and music executive has been at the center of multiple disturbing accusations in recent years, but things took a much darker turn back in September of last year. On September 16th, 2024, Diddy was arrested and indicted in the Southern District of New York. The charges: racketeering, sex trafficking by force, and transporting individuals for the purpose of prostitution. The very next day, prosecutors unsealed a 3-count indictment, and what they revealed was wild. They accused Diddy of running what they described as a criminal enterprise, using his business empire as a front. According to the feds, this operation allegedly involved sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, and decades of physical abuse against women. This wasn't just one case or one accuser. This was apparently a pattern. But here's where things take a twist. An encounter from a few years ago between Terrence Howard and Diddy has surfaced, and this allegation is a little different. And the way Terrence tells it, it sounds like Diddy may have tried to manipulate him in a very unsettling way.
You know, he wants to hang out with you next week, and I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to fuck you.
Now, if you're not familiar with Terrence Howard, he's best known for playing Lucius Lyon on the hit show Empire, but that's just one part of his story. Terrence has been in some of the biggest films in Hollywood, including Iron Man, where he played James Rhodes. He's also been nominated for an Oscar, and he's been a regular at award shows throughout his career. In short, Terrence Howard is respected. His name holds serious weight in the entertainment world, which is exactly why this story hits so hard. Just a few days ago, Terrence Howard sat down for an interview with well-known entrepreneur Patrick Bet-David on the PVD podcast. During the conversation, the 56-year-old actor shared a personal story about an encounter he had with Diddy behind the scenes. According to Terrence, Diddy reached out to him years ago, saying he wanted to get into acting and asked Terrence to be his acting coach. After accepting the invitation, Terrence met up with Diddy, but right away something felt off.
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while.
According to him, Diddy wasn't really focused on acting. Instead, he was just sitting there staring at him silently, almost like he had something else on his mind. And obviously, if Diddy starts looking at you like a piece of juicy meat, you better start thinking twice about what's really going on.
Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me.
That's when Terrence's assistant pulled him aside and made it clear that he wasn't there for acting lessons. He was on a completely different kind of timing. And whatever he had in mind, it wasn't professional. He wanted to fuck him.
Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music. And he's sitting there, just looking at me, like waiting. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to fuck you.
Now, this entire story has been getting a lot of attention. And this isn't just some random rumor attached to Diddy. This is Terrence Howard we're talking about. And Diddy, he's already knee-deep in some of the darkest allegations we've ever seen tied to a mainstream music mogul. But what makes this one different is who it's coming from. Terrence isn't just some up-and-coming actor looking for clout. He's not chasing headlines. This is a man with decades in the industry, an Oscar nomination under his belt, has been a part of a lot of extremely successful films. So when he shares a story like this, it makes people think. And when you really zoom out, this Terrence Howard moment isn't just an isolated incident. It's part of a much bigger shift. People who've stayed silent for years, some of them are starting to speak up. Just a month before his trial is set to begin in New York, Diddy was actually hit with 2 more criminal charges, including sex trafficking and engaging in prostitution. Right now, he's being held inside the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, a place that's definitely the opposite of the empire he once built. His criminal trial is scheduled for May 5th on Cinco de Mayo, and with everything coming to light, the interviews, the lawsuits, the whispers from Hollywood, it really makes you wonder how many stories didn't get told because people were too afraid to speak up, and how many more are coming. And if someone as known and respected as Terrence Howard is saying this about Diddy, I can't really even imagine what's happened behind the scenes. But here's the thing, right? It wasn't just what he said about Diddy that caught my attention. It was the way he started talking about Hollywood in this interview. I've heard a lot of celebrities speak on the industry, but the way Terrence broke it down, I've never really heard anyone at this level put it like that. He touched on a lot of stuff that really makes you sit back and think, i.e. how things really work behind the scenes, what people are willing to do for fame, and the parts of the game nobody ever shows you. It feels like he was giving people a peek into a side of Hollywood that's usually off limits. And honestly, some of the stuff he said might change the way you look at the whole industry.
The women that trade their bodies to go and get the role, they get to the point where they have their Oscar, they have their money, but they don't have their dream. They don't have the soul that they started with. So it's like achieving don't mean anything.
This is the kind of conversation I think is really important to touch on, because when you think about Hollywood, there's so much that goes on beyond what we see on TV screens. A lot of the things that happen never gets talked about. It doesn't get posted, it doesn't get televised. You don't really see what a lot of these people who landed these really big Hollywood roles, what they did behind the scenes in order to, get that. Things that they never probably would admit out loud. Like the men who decided to swing the other way because they were promised a role, and so they decided to, put a dick in their mouth, right? And I might sound a little crass right now when I'm saying this, but, these are some very real things that the public just never gets to see, right? Even people in the industry, the ones grinding every day, chasing that breakthrough, most of them don't even know what's truly going on behind the scenes. They think they're getting closer to the dream, but they don't really know what that dream actually costs. In a lot of ways, Hollywood moves like a closed-off circle, almost like a cult. If you're not willing to put some skin in the game or, give some up, you're not really gonna get in. Simple as that. And the deeper you go, the more you realize you only start seeing what really happens once you put enough of yourself on the line, to the point where someone else has leverage over you. Because you're not gonna be let through the door. If you being let through this door means you're gonna be seeing all the things that are going on beyond what's on the outside without actually giving up something. And then at that point, you're not in the game, you're owned by it. And that's why I think stories like this are so important. I mean, think about how powerful Diddy is. How many people do you think he's allegedly done something to, who never say a word? A lot of them won't speak up, not because they're okay with it, but because deep down, they feel like they can't. Bottom line is, once you give that part of yourself away, you don't really get it back. I mean, you only have one soul in this life, and if you're foolish enough to hand it over to, what certain men promise they'll provide, you might wake up one day and realize that you traded it all literally for nothing. I mean, your soul isn't like a Pokemon card. I mean, you can't really just exchange that. That's the truth, though. And I think stories like this can expose more people to what's really going on behind those scenes.